We have some eggs hatching, and we finally got some zeros. What's up, YouTube? So yeah, we got some eggs hatching. Well, they've already hatched. So there's good and bad out of this clutch. The bad is that half the clutch went bad as they were hatching. Like a bunch of babies just didn't make it out of the egg. They picked and they just didn't come out of the egg. And it kind of sucks because this clutch finally gave us zeros. Now, before I get into the rest of the clutch, I want to talk about lying in the reptile community. And it happens so often now, it's kind of amusing, it's kind of comical, but essentially about 2 years ago I bought two dragons. It was a Hypo Zero Het Translucent 66% Het Wiblets that I bred to a Het Wiblets to prove out, and I lost that clutch. Actually, she never laid for that clutch, and then I bred her to a what I bred her to? I bred her to a Hypo Transdunner genetic stripe, and I got obviously 100% Het Zeros. Is that what happened? Yep. And essentially, because of that, I sold a bunch of the babies, and I didn't really keep any because I already had, when I bought her, they gave me a female that came from her, supposedly. And if it came from her, then it would have been Het Zero. But I wanted to prove out the Het Wiblets, so I also bred it to a Het Wiblets, but she did give me eggs, no Wiblets. So I was like, well, she was only supposed to be possible Het Wiblets, so essentially that's a good indication that nothing happened there. And then I sold some of those babies that I bred from the Hypo Zero, and a bunch of them proved out Het Wiblets. And I was like, dang, I just got unlucky. Well, this year I bred a Hypo Transdunner Het Zero to the Hypo Het Trans Het Zero that I got with the Hypo Zero female, the supposed daughter. I got 24 babies, not one of them was a zero. Very, very confusing. But I didn't trust this person to begin with. After me and him got into an altercation, not really an altercation, he had made a Facebook post saying, come get your red dragons. And I was like, hey, these aren't red, these are orange. I guess I probably shouldn't have said that because actually they weren't even orange. They were like orange citrus. They weren't even orange red. Like it was just like a bad marketing scheme of them trying to get people to buy red dragons that weren't actually red. And I had just commented saying, hey, these aren't red, they're orange. And he goes, block immediately. And I'm like, what the hell? All right. And I saw him at a reptile expo, and he goes, no, you shouldn't have been saying that on my page. And I said, well, you shouldn't have been saying you have red dragons when they're not red. And honestly, I'm pretty sure they were like a brown citrus orange color. It was not pretty. I saw the parents. The parents weren't even nice. The parents were like bland orange. They were almost normal looking. So I was like, hey, not red. You know, I'm not gonna lie to people. I'm not gonna let him lie to people, right? So he said, you shouldn't have been posting that, blah blah blah. And then every time he came to Reptile Expo and I was there, he would send his family to check out my table, which was kind of strange. And then he would walk around and look at my table from a distance. I thought that was strange too. I don't know if they were trying to steal something, just piss me off, whatever it was. But essentially, I didn't trust them anymore after that because who acts like that is kind of childish. And I was like, well, you know, most people when you say, hey, this is not that, they change their post. They say, oh, well, he has the point, or they have a point. This is not this, so I will put it in the post, and I'll just delete the comment and message the person saying, hey, thanks for pointing that out. Pretty simple. I do it all the time. I'll literally go to a morph market and be like, hey, this is not that, or hey, this is this, and they'll change it, and then the messages never go any further. It's just pretty simple. Because when you're trying to sell something, you want people to buy exactly what you're selling as accurately as possible. You don't want to mislead anybody. I have been misled because that female was not Het Zero. He sold me a Het Zero female because she was from the Hypo Zero female that I also bought. And I was like, you know, getting a pretty good deal, whatever. I was misled. I was lied to. And I don't care who they about saying who they are, because you don't lie to people and then try to get away with it. So here's their business page. I probably was blocked from it, so I don't know how. Either I'm putting a screenshot of their business page, or I am just putting their name, because I might not have access to it if I was blocked. But so now I finally got some zeros. I know that was a long-winded story to get to where we are now. And this clutch actually is 2 clutches. So I made the mistake, right, of saying, hey, these 2 females laid eggs on the same day. So one female laid eggs, they were all duds, according to what I thought. They were all duds. I took all the duds out, and I used the same lay bin for a different female. I guess I didn't get all the eggs, because there were 2 dragons in here. I'm lucky they look completely different, because I would have been stupid shocked if I was like, what happened here? But they look completely different, so I know for a fact this is what happened. They laid in the same lay bin, but the first clutch I thought was all duds, and I guess there was 2 viable eggs in there. And then the second clutch obviously was the het zeros, to het zero. So I ended up with some zeros. I ended up with some citrus babies. So 2 citrus babies, and the rest of them are het zero or visual zero, or not het zero, 66% het zero or visual zero. So let's run through that and go look at what we have. So let's start off with the citrus babies. Why is it not focusing? That's weird. Okay, strange. All right. So this is a hypogenetic stripe dunner, het translucent, from the citrus clutch. If anybody's looking for one and they want a male, here you go. There you go. And let's look at the second citrus baby. Second citrus baby is a hypotrans leatherback dunner, another male. Now the reason I know that they're citrus and not het zeros or visual zero or blah 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 from that clutch is because the male was, so that pairing for citrus was a hypo het trans to a hypotrans leatherback dunner genetic stripe. So the pairing for zeros was a hypo het trans het zero het wiblets to a hypotrans dunner het zero. So there should not be any leatherback, and there should not be any genetic stripe on the zero side. So that's why I know these 2 were citrus, because one was genetic stripe and the other one was a leatherback. Now we can get into the het zeros, or the 66% het zeros, and the visual zeros. So let's start off with the most plain looking one. This is a hypo het translucent, 66% het zero, 50% het wiblets, female. And I might feel a little bit lucky and keep her. I don't know, if I keep her and she proves out, it might be a little interesting, because she could prove out for het wiro, or she could prove out for het wiblets, or she could prove out for het zero. Hopefully she proves out for something. But there you go. Then we have this little male right here. He is a hypo dunner. Looks like he'll probably have a color stripe. No idea yet. Again, he has 66% het zero, 50% het wiblets. Looks pretty nice. I can't get my camera to focus for nothing. Then we have this hypotrans female. Again, 66% het zero, 50% het wiblets. She's honestly very, very pale looking. She'll probably be orange though, but she looks very pale right now. Then we have this hypotrans dunner female, probably going to be a color stripe as well. And this one again is a 66% het zero, 50% het wiblet. Sorry, for some reason I had a brain fart, but there you go. And on to the first zero is a hypotrans dunner zero male. It's 50% het wiblets. Pretty nice. You can kind of see, it's crazy how you can see through his body. I'm not going to be keeping any of the visual zeros, so if any, these will all be for sale. So the members obviously get first dibs, but there you go. 2 more dragons left to look at. Here we have another zero, and this one also appears to be a hypotrans dunner. So we have 2 hypotrans dunner zeros. I'll have to verify. Their scales are so small right now, and there's no pattern, so I'll have to double check the other one too. I didn't zoom into the other one, but yeah, hypotrans dunner zero, and it's 50% het wiblets. And then we have one more dragon, and this is going to be a little special dragon, so y'all give him props, okay? So this one is special. Why is it special? Well, I'll show you in a second. This is a hypotrans, 66% het zero, 50% het wiblets, but that doesn't matter because he's pet only, and he's pet only because he has extra toes. So let's go look at the extra toes. He has a whole extra foot practically over here. And why does this happen? There could be a number of reasons. It could just be an anomaly. It could just be, you know, maybe there was 2 embryos in the egg and he just only one in. They didn't actually, I don't know how it works, to be honest, but it could be 2 embryos in the egg. They didn't split right. He ended up with extra toes, but he's still pretty. He has no problem with functionality. He walks around just fine. He just has extra toes. And for that reason, he will be a pet-only bearded dragon. There should be no breeding him because of the extra toes. So that is the last dragon. So that's that. And of course, if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I put out in the future. As always, peace.